The Latin culture is amazing. But of course, bad actors are trying to change that here too. And you see it, and it starts out with the little nose under the camel's tent. Hey, welcome back to our retiree lifestyle, where we dissect whoppers, we call them, that affect our lifestyle, which, as you know, is a big deal this day and age. But we're still here. The beach is still closed to the public. No fault of our own. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. None of these people did it. Nobody here did it. Nobody in the whole city did. Nobody on that hill did it. Nobody did it. Who did it? Oh, nature is just wonderful. If we could just enjoy nature and take care of it, take care of nature properly, then we could enjoy it too. Wouldn't that be something? What an amazing idea, huh? So getting onto the whoppers, it's like we're surrounded by so much information that it's just, I call it, it's a spin. It's like there's these articles, you know, I read a lot of articles and newsletters, and I get my information from the public domain. But I also get my information from other sources, and I sometimes do reference those sources. And not everybody wants to acknowledge every source that is available, but, you know, that is the right thing to do. What is truth? As somebody lost their lives once asking, what is truth? When we live in an age when truth, so-called truth, is manufactured every week, every month, and every day. And every time you open up an article, you see a spin and a manufacturing of ideas and themes and narratives. And one of them is this word, just mind-boggling word to me. How did this word ever get started? It's like when you de-ice a plane, you're de-icing the plane for a good reason. You're trying to save lives, you know? You wouldn't de-engine a plane, would you? I think we've decided we're going to de-engine the plane. The plane has too many engines. We're going to de-engine the plane. No, that doesn't happen. You de-ice the plane, because if you don't, you would lose lives. And that's a bad thing, right? You did something wrong because you promised people to do something for them. They paid you to take them, to transport them, and so you have a duty. And so where does this depopulation word come from? When did that get started? Hello, excuse me, how do we just all of a sudden have this word rolling off our lips, depopulation, as if it's a thing? It is not a thing. Nobody has the right to depopulate somebody else. You can depopulate yourself, you know. These guys that believe in depopulation, they ought to start with themselves. But you see the spin now going on. It's all over the place now. It's global. You see it all over, and it's in certain media, and it's like you start putting two and two together when you see it, and it becomes a narrative. It's like you see one spot over here, and it's like, oh, okay, but then you see the other one, and pretty soon you see the other one, and you notice how they're connected once you get one. It's like a plot. It's like you're reading a book, and you're not really sure at the beginning. Oh, it sounds really interesting. You keep going, you have more information. Oh, great, great. But then when you get towards the middle of the end, and it's like, oh, that was the plot. And it's like, are we going to see this? Are we just going to spot this right away? It's like the idea that all of a sudden, all of these countries are going to lose massive amounts of population because women are working instead of staying home and raising a family. Now, of course, there's some truth to that. In the biggest lies in the world, you always have to have some truth in them, because if you don't include a little bit of truth, people will just spot the lie, okay? You know, if you say, oh, there's a flying donkey, you know, that, yeah, right. You know, but if you call it a UFO, hey, it's unidentified, we don't know what it is, then it's like, oh, there's something flying, but you don't know what it is. What is it? You know, but if you say flying donkey, get out of here, right? So you got to put a little truth in the biggest lie. And so, of course, there's some truth to that. Women in the workforce aren't raising families. Well, duh. If you're not raising families, you're not creating families, you're not creating babies. And if whole cultures do this, then of course it affects the population. I don't see that. I go abroad and I don't see that in a lot of these countries. There's lots of babies, there's lots of kids, there's lots of families all over the place. So this idea only resonates with certain cultures, I dare say, in the West, and especially America and maybe even England, and they call it the West. But this idea does not resonate in all the places we've been all over the globe. One of the reasons we really enjoy being abroad is because the center of the culture is the family, even in places like Ecuador and Mexico. The Latin culture is amazing, but of course, bad actors are trying to change that here too. And you see it, and it starts out with the little nose under the camel's tent. But the idea that all of a sudden these countries are just going to die off, they're going to die off all of a sudden. All right, well, here's a question. I go back into history a lot, and I say, look at history. We started this earth, whether you believe it or not. The recorded history says it started with two people. Of course, it started with one, then there came the second one, because they were male and female. The male couldn't reproduce on his own. He's a man. He doesn't lay eggs and reproduce. He needs a woman. So there was two of them, and out of two people in 5,000 years, we've now got, what, 8 billion? Where's this depopulation? Why all of a sudden this worry? All of a sudden, we've got a 5,000 or 6,000 year history where we started out with measly in number. That's what I'm saying here is two, just two. We went from 2 to 8 billion. And all of a sudden, we have to be in fear and believe that the central theme that we're being given today, the narrative we're being given, is that if we don't do the thing that these really smart people think we should be doing, why we're just going to die off the face of the earth. And perhaps there is some truth into that too. It just depends on what you're doing to yourself. And the other thing is, who are you listening to? If you listen to these people, it's like Japan's going to fall off the face of the earth. Their population's going to go down to 50%. They're not going to be able to pay people's retirement. Let me know in the comments what you think so far. Where did retirement start? When you look into history, we've got to go back into written history, and it's old, ancient scriptures. And you see that families built businesses. You had patriarchal families, they built businesses, people in the family had roles. When the first generation aged, the upcoming generation carried on the businesses. But now we have industrialization, where we live in an industrialized society where basically we can split families up and tell them, well, they just go do your own thing. You don't need anybody. You just all you got to do is use our centralized money system and get rich, and you won't need anybody. Boy, did we ever fall for that one, didn't we? Yeah, we sure did. And what has that gotten us? Now we're in the spot we're in, where we're being strangled, and we're being strangled from all sides, and our liberty is being encroached upon and stolen, and our inheritance is being stolen. But it doesn't have to be that way. There are solutions, there are things we can do, so I'm just out here highlighting these things in my whoppers. So I really appreciate you coming to my channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about all this? this idea that, you know, these countries are going to fall off the face of the earth because they're going to lose 50% of the population. Italy's going to disappear. Just everybody's just going to be old, and then once they're dead, nobody's going to be there. Well, if nobody's there, what's there to worry about? I mean, once you get 80 years old and die, are you worried about retirement? Okay, so who's going to pay their retirement? Hello, well, you know, it begins with lifestyle. Exactly what is it that people expect out of life? We've been told that we have, you know, that we're entitled, you know, that we have to have maybe a brand new car every 2 years, or, you know, a big $1 million house, or all of these things that and in and of themselves, those aren't bad or wrong. It's just that the way we've gone about it is that we've trusted in certain characters, bad actors, that all along led us to believe that we were going down the right path, and instead it was the wrong path. And these systems are easily either subverted or hijacked or just totally taken over, like what's happening now. In the last 100 years, little by little, these systems have been subverted from within. And then what we have is a complete coup, a complete takeover going on, a sort of non-military. I don't want to use the non-military word because it is sort of a military strategy takeover, where it's sort of strategic in the way that you just weaken your target and encroach on it from all sides, and then you take over. And so, of course, with these narratives, the solution is always offered, and this is when you start seeing the plot. And the solution is, well, we're going to have to compete for migrants. Ooh, really? Oh, where did that come from? Gee whiz, what do you know? Look, we've got this huge problem, but hey, guess what? We've got the solution for you. We're going to have to compete for migrants. And, well, you know what? They're going to have to come from these areas that aren't a loss of population, like Africa. Oh, man, I saw right through this. Look, this is not against Africa or any particular people. I'm just saying, what are you seeing nowadays where people are being pit against one another? You know, aren't blacks and whites being pit against one another by certain bad actors? Women and men being put against each other, Christians and non-Christians. It's just people being divided. And so what you have is this agenda of divide and conquer, but on steroids and in a global, on multiple fronts from a global perspective. And so that's what we're dealing with. Remember, we cannot sit here and get lulled into a false sense of security. Ecuador just announced that their emergency that they've been having for the last couple of years is over, but they kept their claws in the people by saying that even though that particular situation is, we've done away with it, why we still are going to keep up on, you know, whatever other sicknesses come about, and to keep our claws in the people that way. And so let's not lull ourselves into a false sense of security when some of these plans from our enemies fall through, because they have, just like in a chess game, they have other plans for you and I. And so we need to be on our toes, come out from among them, and we need to be on our toes. Do not get discouraged. Good is winning, even though things may seem overwhelming. What's your plan? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. All right, thanks for coming to the video. Have a wonderful day.